Wouldn't miss this part for the world.
You're
Uh,
so good.
the best parts are the introductions, and I learned if you greet somebody before the. Do you hear me? Okay.
Sound fine. You sound
Uh,
fine. Yeah.
okay. It did seem like it skipped out for a second. Well, anyways, welcome back. It's really good to
Thank
see you.
you.
2 minutes ago, I just looked up when our last show was. It was a year ago.
Yeah.
It was last December,
Yeah.
2022. And I was thinking that it was only just a few months back. And you came in, you pitch hit for my regular co-host Merle. If you recall, he had
Yeah.
just lost his cousin, and he said that he couldn't do the show. He was so broken up. And you came on and we talked about grief and healing and dealing with that. He was so grateful. He absolutely loves you.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
glad. I'm
Oh,
so
it's
glad.
so touching. Yeah.
Such a hard thing to go through in life, but it's so important that we do it well and honor ourselves and the person who's passed. Yeah.
Yeah, very well said. And when you get onto a show like Over 50 Starting Over, it's something that you really, unfortunately, you have to talk about. And
Happening a lot more frequently now, isn't it?
oh,
Yeah.
it's terrible. I've quoted this several times on the show, but an old high school friend of mine, we were going to our wrestling coach's funeral. We met in the parking lot. We're walking in. He goes, a few years back, I only saw you at weddings. Now I only see you at funerals. Oh, what a
Yeah.
sad statement.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But it also, we can tweak that if we want, which is we now are in the place where we're celebrating people's lives well lived.
Oh, that's a
And
really
we
good way to put it.
get to be part of the journey of saying, gosh, I got to see you at the very end through the finality of your life. And I got to be an important part of the end of your journey. And since we only have this journey as us, how beautiful to be in someone's life when they move on into whatever is beyond.
Hey, let's go there for a minute. Oh, you know what? Let's do a quick intro.
By
I'm
the
here
way,
with
folks, hello.
here with Dr. Heather Browne.
Welcome to our conversation.
Yes, yes. And you are a prolific author. You have at least 3 books, don't you? Lots and lots of published articles. You're coming out with a book in like a week or so. I looked for it. It's not out yet.
No, it's
And,
not out yet.
and I have a little bit of information about it. We got to plug it, and we'll talk more about it for sure. I want to go all over the place. There's a lot I want to talk to you about.
Awesome.
Where did it go? Here it is. I think there was I wanted to quote I think the guy wrote your foreword. Very, very accomplished author in and of himself, and here it is. And your book that's coming out is called Speaking with the Heart. I'm going to ask you about that in a second, but I want to read this because I thought this is just beautiful. You said you received the most beautiful review after reading the draft from my famous fellow author and colleague, and that is James R. Doty, MD, founder and director of the Stanford Center for Compassion and Altruism Research and Education. That's CCARE. A subject matter near and dear to my heart. Dr. Stephen Trzeciak was on the show about a year and a half ago talking. He was the author Compassionomics and the follow-up, The Wonder Drug. And it's all about, he comes from a clinical point of view and has found that, boy, I am all over the place. But he found that, he was taught back in the day to keep a professional distance with his patients because that's the only way you're going to get through this. It's a very difficult and draining expertise. But he found it's actually 100% the opposite. If you dedicate 3 extra minutes to that patient on a more personal level, that everything just flows much better. And okay, back to this quote. Okay, Dr. James Doty, here's his quote about your book. Connection and compassion define our humanity. Sadly, in the modern world, we are distracted from what it means to be human by a culture that has focused on false measures of success, resulting in suffering and alienation. Speaking with the heart gives us a step-by-step guide, allowing us to reconnect to that part of us that is so desperate, that so desperately wants to connect. When we connect, we become compassionate and we love freely and unconditionally. This is really important. This is who we are at the core, and this is what Dr. Heather offers us. Wow. Wow, that's so well written, and that is so
You've got to
meaningful.
read his book. You've got to read his book.
Is
Into
that
the Magic
correct?
Shop. It's wonderful. I read it a couple years ago and I wrote to him and said, this had such a profound impact on me. Bless you. And he wrote back and said, thank you so very much.
Oh,
So when it came time for my book to come out, you sneak it in there. And I
yeah.
was so honored because he's a beautiful soul.
Sounds like it.
He's connected with the Dalai Lama. I mean,
Wow.
this is a man who walked this earth blessedly. So to have that, yeah, I thought, so
Yeah. Let's give him a quick plug since you mentioned that. International best-selling author of
yes,
Into the Magic Shop, a neurosurgeon. I love neurosurgeons. I really do. A
brilliant.
neurosurgeon. Yeah. I like, though he's a neuroscientist, but geez, Andrew uh, Huberman, the Huberman's Lab podcast. It's a
And I love
terrific
Joe
podcast.
Dispenza. Joe
Oh,
Dispenza is another one who's brilliant. Yeah.
and isn't he actually a what do you call that? Bone doctor, bone cruncher. What do you call those
Oh,
guys?
is he? I thought he was a neurosurgeon. You know what? I'll have to check. I just know he's brilliant.
If it's not Dispenza, I do think it's Dispenza, and his take on things is absolutely brilliant. He does a very much a mind and physical approach, a mind and body approach, and he talks about if you change your physical behaviors, even the way you get out of bed in the morning, that your mental behaviors and habits will shift as well. Oh, he is brilliant, and guys, look him up on YouTube, and just look at some 10-minute videos here and there. You'll learn a lot. Well,
And book,
let's.
his
I'm sorry.
books are phenomenal too. Yeah,
Yeah.
both Dr. Doty and Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look up this Into the Magic Shop because
it's
that's right up
wonderful.
my alley.
It is wonderful. It's a fascinating book. He's just a brilliant man, but the way he shares his story, it's so powerful. Yeah, I loved
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Oh, well, you talk it up. I mean, he probably just sold a whole bunch of copies right there.
I hope
Uh,
so.
let's talk about speaking with the heart because I don't know anything about that yet. When we last talked, of course, we came from more of the grieving angle. Of course, it was appropriate at the time. But I think your biggest claim to fame is relationship
Yes.
advice and
Yeah.
expertise. And by the way, congratulations on the TEDx talk that you did.
Thank you.
It had to be a little while ago now, like 6 months ago, I'm guessing.
It came out in November. I did it in September. It's a
Oh,
5-month journey from the time that I was selected until we actually performed. It was really intensive, but it was really exciting, really
yeah,
exciting. And a great opportunity because it has you go
sure.
through everything. Very humbling, which is
I,
good when you have those moments where you're like, dear God, do I have anything to say? And will anybody even like it? And how will I do? Very,
yeah.
very humbling.
I want to
Yeah.
talk about this for a minute. I find it fascinating. Okay, so you're kind of hinting at the imposter syndrome, which most of us, unless I think you're a narcissist, I think that we all have battles with that from time to time. Is that a little bit of how you felt?
I'm not going to say imposter syndrome because I'm very much me and I know who I am and I
Hmm.
know what I bring. But there's the place when you are doing a whole lot of work and then saying, here's my baby. Like,
Mm,
what do you think?
mm.
So same thing with my book.
Putting it all out there on the
Yeah,
line.
yeah, my book has taken me a long time to write and editing and copy editing and cover design and all of this. And you put it out there and you're like, please love it a little bit. And you just don't
Yeah,
know. And so you have to wait to see when you did your first podcast, like
yeah,
how many people will even listen? Not
yeah.
that you don't know what you have is wonderful and beautiful. You do, I
But will
hope.
people get it?
Or do they want it?
Oh, that's a good point.
you know,
Yeah.
they might just not want it. You
Mm.
might not want a book on relationships or how to love your partner better, how to help your partner love you better, how to honor each other and how to
Mm.
not fight and how to have better sex and how to do budgeting and how to love your family better. I mean, you might not want that. I think you would want it, but
That's a
you
lot of heavy subject matter right there.
might, they're all in there. They're all in
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's something else. There's a lot of things I wanted to, I had about five different questions that were all going in different directions a second ago. What one that I think is fair for everybody to lay the groundwork is, could you tell us a little bit about your personal past? Because we're going to talk about relationships. So how are the relationships of your life been? How have they formed and how have you grown throughout your own
Oh my
lifetime?
gosh, how do I even answer that?
I
I'm
know that was so
60.
broad, right?
Oh, it's huge. So I'll put it in a nutshell. I came into this world believing that my role was to keep my mom alive and to try to help her see this world as a place that's beautiful to live. She was a paranoid schizophrenic and an alcoholic. And so the beginning of my life was all formulated on try to show mom that she's needed, that you love her, that we can play, we can have fun, and this reality is beautiful. So I really didn't know really at all who I was. And the focus when I was a child really wasn't on me. It was like, let's keep mom here. And then when she killed herself, my dad
I
really,
didn't know this. Oh my
oh,
God.
it's why I'm a therapist. Yeah, she killed herself when I was 16.
Oh, and what a transformational age too. I mean, you
Massive.
were already cast in a role at this since you were born, a caretaker role.
Yeah.
And how traumatic was this at this point in your life?
I don't even know how to answer that one because that was my life. It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was just a lot. The whole childhood was a lot. She was beautiful, she was amazing, she was elegant, she was tragic, she was crazy. Um, yeah, it was a lot, but it is why I am here for sure. So that happened. And then my dad, bless his heart, we'd gone through like hell for a whole bunch of years. And he just needed me to be smart and wise and take care of myself because he was exhausted. Like
Yeah.
he'd not put her into an institution so she could stay with us, but like it had been crazy for a whole bunch of years. And so I decided to be a theater major because I wanted to run away from what I didn't know my life
Sure.
was. And that wasn't a wise move at 6'1". And my dad knew that. And so he said, like, I'm not going to support you if you do that. You're going to be on your own. And so I said, fine. And so I flew off to New York and said, out of here. Like, if you're not going to support me in my choice of my life, I'm done doing my life for everybody else. So I thought. And
Wow.
and so I went off to New York and it was on my own. And that was really hard and scary to be
I bet it
18,
was scary.
not have family and
Yeah.
not have money and not know what the future would hold. And so really had to look at myself and look at what I was doing and where I was going. Pursued theater for a couple of years and loved it. But at 6'1", there just aren't many parts. And so I had to decide, are you willing to do this for the rest of your life? And I was getting closer and closer to my connection with God or spirit, whatever you want to call it. And one day he said to me, instead of pretending to be someone you're not, how about you help people be who they are supposed to be?
Mm. Oh,
And I
that's
just went,
beautiful.
I can't think of anything more beautiful. And
Hmm.
so I reached out to schools and said, I would be a great therapist. I've gone through alcoholism, I've gone through molestation, I've gone through disowning, I've gone through mental illness with a family member. I've gone through a
A
lot.
lot.
And I think I'd probably be able to sit with a whole bunch of people and help them a whole bunch. I need a scholarship. And fortunately, Riacon College offered it to me. So
About how old were you at
years of,
this point?
at that point, I was 27 and I did lots of years of therapy because I had to. I had to.
Hmm.
I mean, so
Hmm.
much had gone on. I needed to learn how to figure out who the hell I was
Hmm.
and how I wanted to walk in this life. And so fell in love, got married. Ted and I were together almost 25 years, two beautiful, beautiful, beautiful children, amazing children. He died 9 years ago now, which is insane. Um,
Yeah.
and so like I've always been a lover of relationship and I'm a lover of people. and I love
I,
myself. And the longer I do life, the better I am at just loving on people and saying, okay, like you be you, and I'm going to love you as you are as best I can.
mhm.
Um, and helping people honor themselves and their choices. And trying to bring love to all those aspects of anger and fear, which is what keeps us apart from really
Well, they're
connecting
polar
to all of who
opposites.
we are. Yeah.
You can't be in a state of love and be in a state of fear or anger at the same time. They're polar opposites.
Yeah, but if you realize the answer is that any place there's anger, any place there's disappointment, any place there's fear, there's just more love that's needed. And so my viewpoint is, well, heck, I can bring it. And so then I bring it. And if the
Nice.
other person isn't open to receive it, I will completely honor that and respect that. And I also know that I have brushed them with a touch of my opinion, God, and a touch
Mhm.
of love to try and help them where they are for when they're ready.
That's
But every
perfect.
situation can be improved with love.
I
Every single
totally
one.
agree.
Yep.
First, I want to mention that your husband's name was Ted, and that was Merle's father's name. And he had said repeatedly to me since our interview a year ago that that meant a lot to him. And every time you mentioned Ted, his heart would just open up and
Oh,
overflow because of his father. They were
please
so
give him
close.
my love. What
I
a
certainly,
beautiful soul.
he is going to be watching this probably this evening. I am sure.
Oh, bless you, bless you, bless you. I send love and
Mm.
light and joy and little angel touches upon you right now.
And I thank you so much for that. And I want to just touch on something kind of heavy. Merle and I talk about spirituality a lot. I'm very open. I'm a very spiritual person. I know that there's more to this life than what I see right here. I feel interconnected with everything. I used to feel, when I was much younger, I used to feel very disconnected, but overwhelmed by life, I would say. Now I feel connected to everything. Everything is just energy, as I am as well. Merle is a born again Christian, and bless him that he has a very open heart and mind where we can have very deep conversations on this subject and explore. And because, it's very frustrating when someone is just, okay, it's super narrow. And because of this is how I learned it, and this is the way it is. And it's hard to have deep, meaningful, loving conversations because you know what happens? Come in full circle right there. There's an anxiety that gets thrown in there, even a fear, veering off that path and exploring. And I think that if you if you have to have that kind of rigidity, well, it's okay if that's, for you and that's what makes life best for you. That's fine. But I think if you want the real truth, that you have to be 100% open-minded and you can't be married to anything. Your identity can't be 100% married to anything because my evolution about spirituality has been just immense over my lifetime. I had the arrogant period of time in my younger 20s of denouncing God and that guy in the sky that you can't see. And I said all the smart things, right? Arrogant.
We're
It's
not so
such,
smart.
pardon? And
We're
so
not so smart.
I know enough to know I don't know anything now. That's my point. And
Yeah, it's a good thing to know.
it is. But you know what? It makes me super curious. And
Yeah.
that's why I love doing this podcast and interviewing people like you, because we get to talk about these things from all kinds of different people and all kinds of different perspectives. And maybe I get a little bit closer to whatever that truth is.
Well, let
And
me ask you something.
Mhm.
Is love inclusive or exclusive?
Well, I think it's only inclusive. I don't think it
There's
could
your
be.
answer. You don't need to go much further. And I
It,
think to me, that's a huge challenge with what we do in religious circles. Our focus is on exclusion and not on
and
inclusion. And love is inclusive. Love washes over everything.
yeah.
It washes over everything. It goes into everything. It becomes everything. And Mark Nepo, I've paid to have his poem in my book because I love it so much. Love like water. He talks about how in nature, rain falls upon where it falls. It doesn't discern what it falls upon. Love is the same. Love comes and washes over, and it's
Yeah.
up to the person to receive it. So if love is inclusive, what the heck are we doing being exclusive? And so to me, that's just where I go, because Jesus is of God.
Yeah.
I am of God. You are of God. If you believe in God, we're all created. We've all become. So however you want to define how that happened, whether it was a big bang or whether it was a divine touch of love, we are here and we have become. So we come from something. And so whatever that is, we are all part of that. And I think
Totally
that's
agree.
something that we can all agree with. We are all on this earth at this time because for some reason we were born.
Mhm.
And because of that, we have been created. And what you do with that is up to you. But I also go to the place of, okay, so since I'm on this earth with 8 billion other people right now, I'm one of 8 billion. Like I'm nothing. But
And yet everything in a way,
exactly. And so are you.
Mhm.
So who am I to say? Well, I won't be someone who says, I will not be someone who says anybody doesn't have a right or a purpose or a voice or a choice in their life here. It is their life. And they were, for whatever reason, brought to this earth to live. And the purpose of what they do with that is up to them. But mine isn't more important or less important than anybody else's. And so I no longer wrestle with, like, is there a purpose for me to be here? Why am I here? Do I deserve to be here? All that gobbledygook that we get caught up in. I just don't, because I am. And then my viewpoint is, well, how do I then enjoy this as much as possible and help people, because that's important to me, as much as possible in this beautiful, sacred journey that we're on.
That
And
that's what you just said right there is a lot. And I have thought many times I would like to do a podcast with one subject matter and only one subject matter, and that is, what is the meaning of life? And you just went right through that like a knife through butter. Can we unwrap that a little bit more?
sure.
Because I do wonder about that. There's this big part of me that thinks, and it sounds like you're on board with this too. At least you'll certainly relate to it. You could talk about the Big Bang. That's fine, because it does seem like to me there was kind of this big bang, and it didn't just create the universe, but it created, it blew apart. It was, everything was one, then everything blew to infinite pieces. And now I think we're just trying to come back together as one again, which is God in heaven and all of that. And then it's probably going to blow up again like it's done an infinite amount of times. Maybe. It's one of my theories. So then what is the meaning of life? Is it that we do our part to bring this togetherness, this cohesion, which is love, and bring that all, because I think that when we get back to one, that is a state of love, that is just love, that it's just love is blown apart into all these different pieces and trying to reconnect.
Well, it would depend upon what you choose for it to be. So the purpose of my life is the purpose that I give my life. I can decide my life has no purpose if I want to,
Yeah, it's
but
total
that doesn't
nihilistic though.
really make, but it doesn't really make sense because you're still here. So I'm going to live a non-purposeful life. Like you could, it's almost like waiting for Godot. You can say, well, then I'll just do nothing. But then by doing nothing, you're doing something. So it's that, like, pretzel puzzle
Yeah.
that you can't get out of. But so my thought is, since I am here,
Yeah.
like, what do I choose to do with that? And because for me, just for Heather, the most beautiful expression that I know, the most beautiful feeling that I know is love. So my thought is, well, since I love feeling love and I love being loved, why don't I have that be what my life is about? And so that's what speaking with the heart is, taking those people who are split apart or falling apart or not knowing how to come together and saying, let me help you. Like, I've done this for a long time.
Yeah.
I know a lot about communication. I know a lot about connection. Let me show you how to come together a little bit more quickly, a little bit more smoothly, a little bit more beautifully, so that you can have that relationship you want. When people come into a relationship, they want it to last forever and they want to be loved forever. You wouldn't go into a relationship otherwise. You know, it might not happen, but that is kind of the hope. Like, will you be in my life always, and will you always love me and want to be with me and think I'm amazing and incredible? And that can continue if we choose to treat each other in a way that supports that, and if we choose to continually choose the other. So one of the things that I say to my couples is, you know, will you do that? Will you right now decide you're choosing today to be with your partner? And everyone says, well, yeah. I'm like, okay, then how are you going to use today to really show that, to create that? And there's so many beautiful, 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 beautiful things you can do to get to know your partner in a way that it's not split off or fractured, but where you're holding them and helping them. And there's things that for whatever reason we don't do. We don't ask our partner, when you're really mad, what is the best way for me to support you? When you're really sad, what's the best way for me to support you? When you've had a horrible, horrible phone call with your mother, what is it that you desire of me? How can I love you right now? And if we were to say that to our partner, to our children, to our friends, to our pets, to ourselves all the time, how different our experience would be. If you ask my kids, does your mom love you? They're going to say, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Why? Because I do. Every day I'm in contact with them, I say, like, how can I love you right now? What do you need? How can I be here with you?
That's beautiful. There's two things that opens my eyes up to. For one, us guys often have to be told, don't try to fix it. Just be here. Just listen. Just be open. I try to remind myself of that all the time.
Well,
The
and
other,
if you're not sure, because women oftentimes say, hey, can I just talk? And men will think that means, poor little damsel in distress, I don't know what to do. Please tell me what to do and fix it. Now, for a lot of women, I'll include myself on this one, a chunk of it is, I've kind of already figured it out. I just want to fill you in so you know. Or I've thought about this a lot. I've done a lot of research. I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do, but I want to ask her input too. And then there's this little bit, which is, I have no idea. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. But men, because of their desire to be fixers, to be providers, for safety, which we all want and women desperately want. I know I want that in my life again. That's their go-to. So when your spouse, your partner, doesn't tell you what they're wanting out of the, hey, can I share something with you or can we talk? Just ask. Sure. Honey, is there anything you want of me? And she's going to say, I just want you to listen. And then listen to what she says. And so then when she's done and she's shared, that then I would say, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. Would you like me to respond? Or is there something that I can offer? And then let her guide what she wants. My daughter's a painter and she makes amazing paintings. And when she was in high school, a lot of them I didn't really understand. They were abstract, and she was dealing with an eating disorder. And so it was coming out in her paintings and in my opinion, kind of like odd and strange ways. And I remember before Ted passed, he would just be confused by them, and he didn't really like them because the subject matter was hard. And so he would just say, is it done? And she'd be like, oh,
oh, that would have to be crushing.
It's bad. It was bad. And so she'd show it to me and she'd say, what do you think? And I got really smart really quick. And I said, what is it that you're asking me? She goes, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what do I think? Do I like it overall? Do I like the topic? Do I like how you've done it? Like, can you be more specific with what you're
That's
asking?
a
And
smart response because there are a lot of angles to come from there.
there's a
But
lot, and she just had it not go well with her dad. And so I really wanted to make certain,
mm,
like, I want to join you, but if my response is, I don't know why the hell you've painted this, this makes no sense to me, we're not going to have a good conversation.
well,
So I tried to find out, where could I connect with her? Here's the key. You talk about the spatial and broken apart and coming back together.
mm,
Here's the key. Michelangelo, it's the key. Where do you connect with the other? The challenge in our relationships is we come from, I want to go to New York. I want to go to California. I want to go to New York. I want to go to California. I want to go to New York. I want to go to California. And we get caught in these differences. I have an exercise in my book where I talk about this. If you were to say instead, vacation, yes. Okay. Big city or nature? Big city. New York. Let's say LA. LA. Then you can break it down. Okay, well, cold or hot?
mm,
And if the answer is, well, I want hot, well, I want cold, then you're going to have to go somewhere kind of in the middle. And so there's the place of, well, where do we agree? Which gets you closer
yeah,
and closer. Trip, big city. Let's say we say hot. Okay, so that's going to mean we're not going to New York in the winter. So if it's New York, it's going to need to be the summer. California can be a lot of the time, but you keep drawing it closer and closer until you finally get there. If I say I want a gray Prius, and you say you want an economical car, those two can line up. If your favorite color is blue, we might end up with a bluish gray Prius. But there's the place of opening yourself to be able to come
finding the
back
common
together.
ground. Let's
Right.
go back to your daughter's paintings because I mean, I started out my college career in fine art, and it's exactly the same situation as you doing your TEDx. I mean, she births this painting, and then people respond. It could be absolutely crushing. So you're giving us advice of well, find the avenue that she's really looking for. And so, what are the conclusions that you draw there, as far as how to respond to her correctly?
So if you find out what the person is wanting of you, then you've got the ability to honor them and care for them in that way. And when they see that as safe or helpful, then they'll get more. So if she were to say, well, overall, what do you think? I'd say it's powerful. It's kind of shocking. I don't really understand it, but I know it's really important. Could you tell me a little bit more about the mouths? And then
Mm,
she'd say, yeah. And then she would go into that. And then I could say, oh, wow. Okay. So like the teeth, I'm looking at the teeth and they're really striking me. And so it would take me from this big painting of my overall view and narrowing it down and narrowing it down. So by the time we were done, like I'd be pointing out, my gosh, the way you do the blue around that tooth makes it stand out so much, where I'm like drawn to it. And so she felt so embraced,
mhm.
so cared for. Well, that's what we want in our
Yeah.
conversations. That's what we want in our relationship. But here's the key. I asked her, how do I connect with you? I didn't demand that she connect with me.
Mm, mm,
So important, people. How do I connect with you? Since I have the desire to do it, and I'm asking you. So, okay, in communication, to me, Jesus is the best example that there is for healthy communication. He knew who he was. He knew what his message was. He knew he wanted to reach you. So what does he do? He comes to your door and he knocks. If you open the door, he says, hey, I'm the Son of God, and I'd like to sit down with you and talk. And you can say yes or no. He doesn't scream. He doesn't yell. He doesn't force. He waits for you to open the door. So big picture communication, big picture respect for other people in the world.
mm.
If you know who you are, for the most part, for who you are right now, if you know what is the message you're trying to convey, if you know why you are conveying it, and you honor the other person if they want to have that conversation, they want to have that connection or not. If they say no, you say, okay, I still really want to have it. Let me know when you're available. Why is this brilliant? Because the person's going to come to you and say, okay, I'm ready now. And what do you have? An open door. And that is the key. If we want to love someone else, it's why I didn't call the book Speaking from the Heart, which a lot of people have asked me, well, why didn't you call that? I said, because that's taking a concept and then like just using something from internal and then slapping it in the outside world. I want it to come through. I mean, birth, creation, exploration, alignment, connectedness. I want connection. And so it's the same thing. So if you start with how can I care for you? What is it that you need? I talk about it in my TEDx, but I also talk about it in my book. One of the most pivotal moments in my life. My mom was a paranoid schizophrenic. When I was 12, there were helicopters flying over the house, and she was fearful they were coming to get her. And my dad did what he always did and said, like, Jenny, you're crazy. It's all in your head. They're not coming to get you. And I remember looking at my mom, shaking. My dad's words were not helping.
Right.
She was so scared. And I remember thinking at 12, what does mommy need? And my thought was she needs to feel safe. So what does a 12-year-old do? I went and grabbed my blue blankie, Bambi was its name, threw it over mommy's head, and I held her. And I said, they're not going to get you, mommy. When she finally came out, she looked up at me and her eyes conveyed, you believe me.
Oh, the empathy. Yeah. That means everything.
But I didn't believe her reality.
That's a really good illustration of your point.
Yeah, but I believed she believed her reality. And something in my heart and my brain opened up, which is, whoa, 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 whoa. This is the key. Compassion is the bridge. If I care for you in your reality, whether I agree about it or not, and I allow you to care for me in mine, we can actually live in different realities well.
Wow.
We actually do it a lot of the time. We're just not aware that we're doing it. You walk by somebody on the street, nothing happens, you're doing it. But it starts to become problematic when the other person's reality completely doesn't align with yours. I have no idea where my mom went. I'll never know. I know she was not here with me. But I knew I could help make here feel a little bit safer from how she was experiencing here. And for me, that was one of the biggest gifts from God that I got at that age. No one has the same reality. How do we help people in their reality feel safe, feel loved, feel honored as much as possible?
That strikes me deeply. Yeah.
This is a huge problem in the world. We're telling the other person, you are not to be who you are. You are to not to think what you think. You are wrong. Now, truthfully, how many times have you thought you're 100% right? And then you change. Like, well, I used to think that, oh my God, I don't think that at all anymore. Like, it's going to happen. So if we're not worried about that, but recognize, like, who the hell am I to tell you you can't be who you choose to be?
Yeah. No, it's
and
very
having that love for my mom, it was beautiful.
Love is always beautiful.
That's what I try to show in my book. How do you take these very different realities, very different desires, and be able to walk side by side, maybe not really understanding. I didn't understand my mom, for sure. I just had to accept I couldn't. But I could still walk by her side as much as I was able to with her.
There's a lot of depth to what you're saying, and a lot of things that could be talked about forever. And one of what you're expressing is the concept of letting go. And with that is, you could kind of side by side say that with that is humility. And it is, as you were illustrating, we're often so arrogant to think that people should think like us, and that our way,
We go
our
even deeper. Can we go even deeper? What if it's a little bit different than letting go? What if it's not grabbing on? If I haven't grabbed on to what this is to be for me,
mm,
for you, there's nothing to let go of. And then you and I can step into, well, what are we going to make this?
yeah, you know what I like about that is that's the Buddhist principle of not, and we see it in this reality in this country today more than ever. The concept of identifying with everything, picking your team, and digging in, and shunning the other thing that. But if you never, it's attachments. If you don't
Yeah,
have, yes, if you don't have those attachments, there's nothing to let go of.
exactly. And
Yeah,
exclusion makes it more important.
yeah.
Because now you're something I'm threatened by. Now you're something I'm fearful of. Now you're something that I'm trying to pretend is not there. Like it doesn't work. What you focus on persists. So if I say you are bad, you are wrong, I hate you, I have just given you a whole bunch of energy and power over me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And we think we're like negating the other's power. We're not. We're like maximizing it within ourselves. And so there's the place of recognizing, like, I get to decide what this moment is, and I can hold to anything I want to hold to, and I cannot if I don't want to. But what's really important to recognize is that is up to each person to decide. If I want to be completely attached and connected and bonded, I can do that. But then you're going to have to decide, how do you handle that if I'm holding on to you all the time and clinging to you all the time? Um, there's a beautiful truth that we think in, well, maybe it's not beautiful, but to me it is. We think in holding on to, we feel we're safe and we feel like we have control
It's about control, right?
for a moment.
Hmm.
But when you're holding on to something after a moment of like, I got you, what happens? Now it's pressure. Now I don't know if you want to be here. And now I'm scared because now I don't really know if I have you. So there's the place of recognizing that to really have, I don't think we really want control. I think we do. I think we really want
We want safety. That's what it.
and fluidity. Like I can adapt, I can shift, I can change. But if we want safety, it's not up to the other very often to create that for us. It's for us to create for us. And part of our challenge in couples is that we put that upon our partner. Our partner is to make us feel safe. Now, I'm not saying that's not a beautiful part of trying to do in relationship. It is. However, if my safety is completely dependent upon you coming through for me in the way that I need you to come through for me, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. Because what
Yeah,
if you can't do it? What if you don't want to do it?
yeah, yeah. I think we're right back to that attachment concept
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Okay, how about this? There's a lot of different things I'd like to say. One of them is, you were a while ago, you were making me think about the most important thing I ever heard in my life, my adult life. I was about 31 years old when I heard it. It kind of changed my life. I've always been naturally kind of introverted. I like my alone time, and I like to think a lot and watch stupid YouTube videos. But the concept that I heard that struck me, just that aha moment, an awakening, was people won't remember what you did or what you said. They'll only remember how you made them feel. And to me, that immediately a light bulb went off in my head, because other people, I think, hear that and go, I know it sounds, wow, how profound. No, listen to what that means. That means that when I'm at a party and I'm trying to prove to everybody how smart I am, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to say and impress everybody, that's why I'm so anxious and socially awkward. The truth of the matter is, they don't care what I say. They don't care what I do. They only care about how I make them feel. You listen, you ask questions, and you listen. In other words, you get out of your head and think about them. It's that
And
simple.
that's why
Life changing.
absolutely. And that's why in my book, I say we do communication, in my opinion, wrong and backwards.
Yeah.
Start with words.
Right.
What are words? It's a word to define a thought or a feeling, to put it in a box. Blue is blue, green is green, yellow is yellow, sad is sad, happy is happy, but it doesn't have the emotions behind it. So we're using words to try to create a connection and to try to create compassion. It doesn't work. And that's how we argue and disagree and feel confused and lost and not respected and not understood so much of the time. We are to bring the compassion and the connection. So I flip it on its head. I say, offer compassion first, cultivate connection. What is it that you need? What is it that you want? And from there, the words come, because then it's emotionally supported. And then because you and I have had that place of what is it that you need? What is it that you're asking me about this painting? You've got the opportunity to find out, where can I create connection? And there's the bridge. I'm going to care. That's my blue blanket for my mama. I'm going to care enough about you to try to help and support and connect with you in a way that you can receive. My dad's way wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's way wasn't working. So there's the place of, well, I want to make this work.
Right.
What can I offer to you that you will receive? And to me, that is love.
Yeah, that's something that AI can't even replace. And we're in a world that's what we worry about
Yes.
so much. And you are in the perfect field that, yeah.
People have asked me that. Are you concerned with AI? I'm like, oh gosh, AI is phenomenal. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not going to do anything with my business because
No.
mine's all ushy gushy, how you feel. And, it would have to be some person to input that into the computer. Well, that's that person's expression. That's not the person who's in my room.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, I got something you could really wrap your arms around here.
Okay.
Speaking about love,
Yeah.
is there a difference in relationships? Is there a difference in the kind of love that you approach strangers with, colleagues with, friends with, good friends with, and your intimate partner with, and family? All these different kinds of relationships, from very superficial to moderately to intimate. Is there differences? Are there differences?
Well, I think the way you love any particular person is different at any particular time. Love is not a constant.
Hmm.
There's not one way. If you ask me, how do you love both of your children? I love both of my children differently, and I love both of my children differently at different times. Sometimes it's way closer. Sometimes it's way more playful. Sometimes it's a little bit more spicy. Sometimes it's a little bit hard. So, to me, there needs to be fluidity to that. Do I love different people differently? Absolutely. Do I love myself differently? Like, let's go to this. So let's say I woke up this morning and I felt amazing. I'm incredible. And I get on the phone and somebody says, oh my God, Heather, you totally screwed this up and you've cost us $1,000 and this is a problem. Do I love myself as much right now as I did when I first woke up in the morning? Probably not.
Right.
So love changes all the time based upon how we allow ourselves to receive it or how we give it. Okay, so here's the answer. Here's the answer. I guess this is a new awareness for me, so thank you. Love has the capacity to be deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And in that, as you grow more into it, you learn more. I think it is actually in the essence of the giving and the receiving that is the true answer. That's really the true answer. It will depend upon how you give and who is giving and who is receiving. I can offer you a tremendous amount of love and you can cut it out and you won't receive it.
Mm.
I will say my love is huge. You will say I don't feel anything. So it's going to be up to the individual Do you receive it? Do you feel it? And that's why it's so important, especially in couples work, to find out, where do you receive my love? How do you receive my love? What's keeping you from receiving my love? What can I do differently? So that was the knock.
Hmm.
When are you ready? And what would you like me to talk about? That's the navigation. So I don't even know how to describe love other than the energy of all that is beautiful and all that is and all that ever was and all that will ever be,
Oh,
and
that's a
all of us
perfect.
included.
That's a perfect definition. That's a heavy one. It's all encompassing. Okay, when we're talking about, I guess, any relation, Lisa and I, my partner and I, did some considerable relationship therapy ourselves, and I learned a lot. I knew nothing. It's embarrassing how ill prepared I was. One of the most important things I learned was the five love languages, and there probably are more. And I think we all probably ebb and flow with all of them to some degree or another, but we lean into one more than the other for the most part. But what I learned about that, it's kind of like I saw my family differently after learning that and really soaking it in, because I could say, like, my brother, oh my God, he's a doer. He expresses his love by doing things for people. He is not a verbal guy, in that regard. I'm very verbal and expressive in that way. And when you understand those different forms of expression of love, opens up your heart a whole bunch more, because you see, back to what you're saying, it's giving. How do you give and how you receive it? Well, if you can now perceive it where you didn't perceive it before, your life is full of a lot more love. You just made
Yes.
me think of that. Yeah.
Yes, and it's a whole chapter in my book because the love languages are a beautiful, beautiful expression. Gary Chapman, it's an amazing book about to find out how do you receive. And what's fascinating is, let's say someone says, well, I want words of affirmations, but my partner's not comfortable with it. And then the partner will say, well, that's just not who I am.
Mm,
Okay, so if they're in my office, I'm going to
mm.
say, okay, so you haven't ever had sushi before, let's say. Like at one time in your life, you never had sushi, right? And they'll say, yeah. And I said, have you had sushi now? Yeah. Do you eat sushi? Yeah. Oh, so you've changed in what you eat and you change in what you like.
Yeah.
So you're not comfortable with it, but your partner is saying that's really important for them to hear that from you. What if part of the reason you're in this relationship is they're going to help you, if you're willing to stretch, to learn how to love in a way that you've never loved before.
Make you
If
a
you,
better person.
yeah, I talk about Santa and Jesus in my book about this. Words of affirmation.
Mm.
Good little girl. Yeah. Touch, gifts, acts of service, special moments. They're all of those.
Yeah.
Ted was physical touch. I was molested. So it was on the lowest of mine, but it was so important to him that I knew I had to learn to offer it. So on our second date, I remember sitting in his car, my hands were like this in my lap. And I remember thinking, touch his knee. And I'm like, oh my God, like, Heather, touch his knee. So I like awkwardly like put my hand out and I clamp it on his knee. He just put his hand on and he was rubbing because he was comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I learned physical touch. I used to run out to the car and say, whoa, 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 one more kiss. And he'd say to me, just can't get enough of me, can you? I'm like, nope, I'm
Oh
here
my
for
God.
some sloppy seconds.
That's beautiful.
It was.
That is
When
beautiful.
he died, my little hairs on my arms stood up,
Mm.
quivering. And I thought, oh my gosh, my body is missing touch.
Oh, wow.
And I said to him, I was crying, thank you, 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 thank you. You have given me the gift of desiring physical touch and
Wow.
enjoying it and loving it. And I am missing it so much because you're gone. But what a gift Ted has given me for whomever I date next.
Right.
Because I love physical touch now. I didn't at all before him. So here's something that's fascinating about love languages. And this is in my book. You want one, and then when your partner gets really good at doing it, you have it. And because you have it, you're grateful, you're appreciative, and you start wanting another. So they'll morph. After Ted died, physical touch was my most important.
Wow.
Now it shifts depending upon what's going on in the world. During COVID, dear God, it was the most important. But if I'm getting hugs in life, if I'm, hugging my cat and my dog, it might not be as important as something else. So what you are, and oftentimes what you've been deprived of in your childhood
Hmm.
is what you want. The people that come into my office and say, I never heard that from my mom or my dad that they loved me.
Mm.
Little light goes off in my head.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
probably somebody who needs words of affirmation.
Yeah, right.
So what do? I start helping them implant those for themselves so they can help themselves heal in that. So I'll say, right now, I'll pull out a mirror and I'd say, this is going to be hard. Do you trust me? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, I want you to look into your eyes right now. And I want you to tell yourself that you love you.
Mm. I've heard of
So
this exercise. Yes. That's a tough
help
one.
help yourself with those love languages that you want to have to find a way to bring it into your life that you can receive. And eventually you'll be really good at all of them. If you think about it, they say there's 5. I agree there's more.
Yeah.
But if I'm only going to do one, that means I'm only loving people 20%, or I'm only loving 20% of the world.
Mm.
I'm sorry, that's not enough.
No.
If I learn how to do them all, then I can love people 100% and I can love everybody in the world. Well, I'm going to get a whole bunch more love too if I'm loving more people. So
For
why
sure.
would I not want to?
Right.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing. I'm almost embarrassed to admit it, but I used to, in my head, put clients in a certain box and, uh, I don't, different people in different boxes, but I think about that with my clients. It's such a good example, and friends in a box and family in a box. And as I've grown over time, they're all the same now. Like I love my clients like my friends and family. And my life is so much better as a result of that. And I love my career. And I used to struggle with it because I grew up in a very blue collar family. And I literally was taught that if you're enjoying yourself, you're not working because working sucks and it's hard.
Think about that message. Dear God.
Yes. Yes.
Like, isn't that awful?
It's
Especially for somebody
awful.
who's working with people. I'm supposed, like, think about that. My job is to help you feel better within yourself.
Yeah.
That's what a therapist's role is. And I hate doing what I'm doing. What's that message? I hate doing what I have to do for you to try to get you to love you. Like, how is that going to work? It's not.
No
And
way.
what a stupid thought,
Yes.
because it's just a mental construct. I get to decide if I love what I do. I could hate what I do. Oh my gosh, I have to show up at the office. Oh my gosh, I have to listen to your stupid problems. Oh my gosh, I don't get vacation time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm not 9 to 5. Yeah, I mean, I don't have health insurance. I have to buy tissue all the time. You're needy of me. I can hate what I do. You can hate anything,
Yeah.
or you can choose to not. But since you are to live this life, and since work is a big portion of it,
You got
why
to do
not?
something.
So when my kids were really young, I homeschooled, and my son had a fascination with the garbage man. He did. He did. And
A particular one or all garbage
he
men?
was he was our Friday garbage man,
Okay.
Mr. Jose, and he had no teeth, and he would come on Friday, and so Mac always wanted to give him a present. So we would do like applesauce or a very soft muffin or a hot cocoa, and we would run out and give Mr. Jose a gift. And he would let Mac and Santa climb up into his seat and ring his bell, and he'd say, Bambino, Bambino. And he was
Uh,
he was amazing.
yeah.
Mac would tell all of my friends when he was 3 that he wanted to be a garbage man. And my friends all laughed and they said, way to go, Doc,
Yeah.
raising your kid to be a garbage man. And I said,
Yeah.
oh, Mac is actually brilliant. Ask him why. So he
Yeah.
would say, trash stinks. We've got a lot. And if Mr. Jose didn't come and pick it up, it would be all over our house and it'd be all over our street. And my friends couldn't come to my house. So Mr. Jose lets my friends come to our house. And people went, oh, he's really smart. I said, and Mac doesn't even realize the true wisdom in his little 3-year-old heart.
Yeah.
Mr. Jose was happy,
Yeah.
happy with what he did. He picked up trash and he saw the joy that it brought others.
Hmm.
It was glorious. It doesn't matter really what you do. It doesn't even really matter who the heck you are. It just matters the experience of it. And that is something that's up to you. And that's why I call my book Speaking with the Heart. Communication is a love letter if you choose for it to be, or it's a battle. And that choice is yours. I'm going to prefer to be in a relationship where it's treated as a love letter. Mr. Jose knew that wisdom and it was glorious. It was
I got
glorious.
that last minute there would be a nice chunk to chop out of this and use as like a YouTube short for
Well, do it.
your book. It was really well said. It was very profound.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I appreciate that. How old are your kids and how are they?
So my son just turned 24 and my daughter is at 26 and they're amazing. My son's in the military.
Nice.
He is becoming quadlingual. He's learning Mandarin and I
Wow.
think he's going to do the 20 years. He's smart, powerful, compassionate, kind. Um, I adore him. I'm incredibly proud of him. My daughter, she's amazing. She's artistic. She's beautiful. She's soulful. She's deep. She creates prayer paintings and portal paintings. And she is going to create portals inside of sanctuaries and temples and churches throughout the world.
Can you explain that, please? Portal paintings and creating portals throughout the world. I don't know. My guess would be that you're talking about showing a religious experience.
Yeah, she helps people honor their own internal spirituality in a way to be able to focus upon it. So let's say we'll use Jesus. Let's say it's a prayer painting about Jesus. She will use words of Jesus throughout the painting. She will find out the names that are important to you with Jesus, the places that are important to you, the energy of Jesus. She'll listen to music that is tied to that. So she will take the energies of him and of you, and in collaboration work to create a painting that you can go to reflect upon. That for you is that experience, and a lot of them are set in a portal shape where they go in and in and in and in. They're fascinating to watch her do because she layers them. So there'll be mantra, there'll be prayer, there'll be Bible, there'll be scripture, there'll be song, color. She does lots of layering with feathers and shells or crystals or things that resonate with that energy. She's also done energy paintings of healing for like eating disorder or body dysmorphia.
This is fascinating.
It is glorious. And so being her mom, what is so beautiful is I have the gift of word and I have the gift of graciousness. And so when she's working on something, she will come to me and say, like, help me with this, because she knows I can be a little bit more of a brushstroke with love in some of my phraseology or in ways to convey things. And so I'm her muse a lot of times. And I find things for her and I'm like, this is really important. I was drawn to teeth for a while. So I was purchasing her teeth. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm supposed to buy these for you. And then she'd be like, Mom, it's here. This Christmas, I got her 2 snake skins that were like super important. Butterflies, shells, feathers. I dry flowers for her. I dry rose petals for her, which is really, 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 really important. And then she'll take all these beautiful gifts of nature and she'll use them in what she does. And she's using her art to help heal herself and heal the world. And I do the same with my words.
Yeah.
And my son does the same with his strength and his wisdom. So
Wow.
the 3 Brown Sketeers are all here trying to help the world experience be safer, more full of love, more connected, more beautiful, more honoring. And I'm just so grateful that we get to be us and we get to be doing this in our own ways, but in some ways crossing over each
Oh,
other,
sure.
which is
Well,
beautiful.
very interesting. When you started describing the portals, the paintings, I immediately thought, wow, this is a visual way. Like I listened to guided meditation.
I can show you
YouTube.
one if I turn my
Yeah,
camera
yeah,
on.
please do. But it's
This might be
guided
kind of,
meditation visually.
I
She's
think,
creating meditational devices,
I
is
don't know
what
if
it.
you can zoom on it and
I
get it.
can, but I
That's
can't,
one of them.
it's a
And
little
you
ways
can
off.
always, her name is Sienna Browne with an E. So you can look her up or I can send you her link. She has
Mhm.
a glorious website. I am her biggest collector, but I have that one. I have an amazing painting on Jesus that I love. I have one on Kuan Yin. So whatever expression someone is wanting to have, Mother Mary, God, whatever it might be, um, they're lovely.
Uh-huh.
Contemplative prayer paintings. They're lovely. She's incredibly gifted.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, it's a visual way of meditating. It's a
Yes.
guided meditation piece,
Yes.
which I think is absolutely amazing. And you're also correct that you're all
Here she
participating.
is. That's
Yeah,
my baby girl.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh,
you can
okay.
see
Look at this.
that was the eating disorder. That was the one that,
Oh,
oh, what? And so what am I to find in here? Yeah, that was a hard one.
yeah.
This is a recent one she's working on.
Those look like shells, like mussels
Yeah.
shells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Muscle shells are really important right now.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, I like her work. It's deep.
isn't it? Yeah. And if you
Uh-huh.
go to her website, she has so many. She had a beautiful show a couple of months ago in San Diego, and
Oh.
she sold 5 paintings. Um,
Oh my God, look at this.
that's in her room. So
Yeah.
she's done a mural in her room. She's going to be in the San Diego Art Walk in August. So you
Uh-huh.
can find her there as well. But if you guys have questions, you can reach out to me and I'll get you connected. But she does paintings on commission for
Mm,
people. And then
mm.
she collaborates with whatever they would want. She also teaches people how to create portal paintings herself. So she's done workshops
Ah.
showing people how to do it. She's that has a cuss word, so you might have to scroll fast.
Ah.
But
And that's
she's
most people
amazing.
listen to the show, and this is one of those times I'd recommend that you come over and take a look at this stuff. It's fascinating. When I look at this, I think she's got to be fascinating to talk to. And
She is such a gift. She is the most glorious person. And I say all the time, like, how is it that we chose each other in this life? And those are the teeth, we
yeah,
100% have, and we know it. We know
yeah.
it. We're going to create Watch Out World. This is her art show. This was her art show in San Diego. It was so beautiful. We're going to create a mermaid program, she and I, and we're going to help little girls tap into their little or inner mermaid because there's a beautiful aspect that's really important in that. And she was a lifeguard. We're both swimmers, very tied to the ocean. And so it's something we've talked about, and it's something that's going to happen down the road. There's going to be a mermaid program that we're going to do.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, we should plug some of your stuff too while I'm thinking about it.
I tell Sienna, hey, you took over the podcast, sweetheart. I hope I get you people.
Right,
She
right. Well,
did
I have
you.
to say, you have a great website, and I would like to
Thank
encourage people to go to Dr. Heather Browne with an E on the end of
you.
Brown, drheatherbrown.com. And yeah, you got some really nice stuff. And
Thank you.
your TED Talk is on there.
Mhm. And the
Oh,
book will be on there next week.
oh, that's terrific. Are you going to do an audio version?
I really want to.
You should.
So Post Hill is part of Simon Schuster, and so what I've been told is we need to sell quite a few copies for that to be something that they will pick up.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, it's for me to pick up the cost. But I think it's probably going to happen anyway because almost everyone asks me that,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh,
I
it
think
open up the audience by 75%, probably.
and I think I would really love doing it.
I think you'd be
So
terrific at it for
I think
sure.
it's something for me to look into when we're a little further beyond launch. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I also want to say that you have a terrific blog, and not just
Yeah.
that, I'm on your email list, and you put out an email that's an easy read. It takes a few minutes each with each. And I'm on your blog page now.
Mhm.
And there was one just a couple weeks ago. I may have responded to you about it. I'm not sure, but it was about happiness. I think this is worth bringing up. And you talked about how we think of happiness as space, this place that you're supposed to be and always be. And that right there is self-defeating,
Yeah.
because happiness is maybe something you glide in and out of on occasion. Could you speak to that a little bit? Because I'm doing a terrible job.
Well, sure. So we want the things that are lovely in our life to be ever present. Of course
Mhm.
we do. But if they are, then they're no longer quite as amazing as they are. If I eat a chocolate chip cookie every hour, it's not going to be that great. If I don't have a chocolate chip cookie for a month and I ate a chocolate chip cookie, it's amazing. So part of the reality is that's the joy of life. You've got to have the contrast.
Mm.
And to feel something, it needs to take us a little bit out of where we have been, or it just becomes isness. And happiness is something that we cultivate based upon an experience that we're having. You say something I like, I'm happy. You give me a cookie, I'm happy. But there's an external that comes to an internal. And it's great and we love it. We love it. You know, you hear a child laughing, and for me, I'm happy. You look at a little puppy wiggling its little tail, and I'm like, I'm happy. But there's been an external that has caused that, which is part of the beauty of being in this world and being human. But that's different than an internal place of peace and an internal place of joy or acceptance. And when I can be in that state, then no matter what is going on in the world, I am going to be able to maneuver myself through the world better. If I'm relying on external things to bring me my happiness, unless I'm blessed to live in a place that's very rich of that, I'm leaving myself devoid of what I could have. And when you realize that and say, oh gosh, no, I really want to give myself the life I want to have. I really want to offer to myself all that I can be, then you can have joy pretty much always. And then happiness is a layer above. It's those moments where I laughed really out loud. That was beyond my normal state. But if you let your externals decide where you have your peaks of your normal state, you're going to be like this. Whereas for me, I'm kind of more like this and up and up. I don't go that far down. And when I start to, I question it really quickly. I'm like, Heather, get into nature,
Mm.
get into water,
That's it.
call
Yeah.
your son or your daughter. Like you're losing your connection with what is precious, what is beautiful, what is powerful. And
Mm.
so for me, I'm very much aware of that. It's very important that I keep myself in a place of open, warm, compassionate energy for me to be able to do the work that I do and for me to be able to love people the way that I do. Clients who haven't seen me for a while will reach out and they'll say, I need to come in and get my Heather fix. And I
Oh.
say, yeah, I know exactly what they mean. They want to be loved on. They want to be supported. They kind of want to be called on their crud. Like, hey, what are you doing? Like this isn't going to honor who you really are. And they know I will do it in a way to support them. So there's the place of asking yourself, am I just reacting to the world around me? And is that my experience? But what about my internal world?
Mhm.
If you think about it, you will have more conversations with yourself than anybody else in your entire lifetime.
Oh yeah. And
So what is
some are really harsh.
so what are the quality of those conversations?
That's really good. I want to back you up if I can, because I'm not sure if I totally grasped this correctly. But you're talking about getting to a place of happiness, and it sounded like you needed an underlying underpinning of joy first before did I read that right? And how do you find the internal joy first?
No, you don't have to. I mean, you can live in low energy if you want to. You can live in misery and depletion and resentment. I mean, I certainly have lived through dark stages after my mom killed herself, after Ted died. Like I was just trying to survive.
Yeah.
When I had my huge crash freshman year in college, whew, I was just trying to stay on the earth,
Mm.
truly. But there is a place of asking yourself, well, what is joy? And
That's a good question right there.
because happiness is that made me happy. Joy is internal. And I have spent years trying to find where is mine and what how do I connect with that deeper? And so for me, it's like a soft, warm hug that I feel pretty much all the time if I let myself stay in that energetic awareness. And for me, it's the love of the earth, it's the love of the universe, it's the love of all the people who have come before me, it's my love of this life, it's my love of everybody else around here, it's my love of my experience. And so I try to give myself the gift of remembering that. And
Mm.
I fall into just being Heather doing life. And then I say, this doesn't feel that great. And when I give myself the opportunity to tap back into, like, I am so protected. I'm so protected in this world. If you think about it, none of us should be alive. Think about all the molecules in the air and what's in the
Mm.
water and all the stuff we eat in our food and
Oh
all
yeah.
the body systems and the like super thin skin. Like it's crazy we're even alive. It's a miracle we're
Well, we're
alive.
shooting through a universe on a big blue marble.
Like what the heck? And it
Yeah.
works? Like it makes no
When
sense.
you put it like that,
And your
certainly.
heart beats on its own. You breathe on your blood pumps to your whole body. Like I look at my body, 60 years old. I'm like, dear God, you've been going for 60 years. And like, you're holding up pretty darn well. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I am like so blessed. And when you let yourself recognize that, like how blessed I am to have this life. I want to get to that. Well, I don't want to get to the end of my life, but when I do, I just have this view that like that God will say to me, so like, what'd you think? And I just want to say, oh, like, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to have life
Oh
and
wow.
to have life as Heather. And then I have this image that God will say to me, so did you do everything that you wanted? And I'm going to say, oh, hell no.
Right.
Hell no. But I really enjoyed it. And I'm really grateful that I was given the opportunity to be alive. There's so many people who have passed over. I have not yet. What a glorious gift today is if I choose for it to be, because one day I'm not going to be here.
Mm.
And then there's no more of this. So my viewpoint is like, why would I not want to treasure this as much as I can? And why would I not want to take care of it? And why would I not want to share it? And just try to light other people up to the beauty of the fact that like you can love yourself if you want to, or you
Yes.
cannot. You can love this journey if you want to, or not. Everything is both. I did a TikTok that people really enjoyed where I said, a yes is also a no. If I say, yes, I will do this podcast with you, I have at the same time said, no, I will not see clients and I will not be doing yoga right now. So it's always both. We get caught in not recognizing that. And so then we get angry or frustrated in a choice that we have made. If we
Mm,
decide that the choice that we have made was our choice, or it was the choice that was, then it's not a choice, it was our choice, then we have a way of honoring that and letting it be what it is and saying, I thought that was the best choice at the time. And so,
mhm.
like, I'm going to let that be a gift, an opportunity. Every single moment could be a different reality. I can choose something different. I can feel something different. I can think something different. I can do something different. Every moment could be like, I don't know, even a billion opportunities, possibilities. And yet we get so caught up in the one that we're in. And so if you don't enjoy what's going on, give yourself the opportunity to change it. If you're going to do it, like recognize you're doing it so that your life becomes more important to you for whatever it is that you want it to be. It could just be looking at a sunset every night. If that's the purpose of your life, dear God, what a beautiful purpose. But
You,
let yourself live your life in a way that thrills you because this is all we got.
that's really great stuff. I think for about the last 4 minutes, you just went on an entire definition of what is gratitude without ever saying the word gratitude. It's beautiful. And what you did is, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You said everything very eloquently, but you're talking about take the time to see what the gifts that you are truly given right
Yeah.
now in every regard. Then you're talking about the decisions that you've made and will make, and with the knowing that with every door you open, you're going to close another. What do you say about indecisiveness and indecisive people? Is that is that a horrible trait?
Well, I'm not going to label it with that. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it's an absolutely wonderful opportunity because what it means is you don't give yourself the power to choose. And so if you sit in that, you're looking for something else to tell you what you are to be. I had a gentleman come to me. He was in love with a girl, but he didn't know if she was the one. And so I listened to him for a while and I thought, oh, I'm going to give him an interesting exploration. And so he had gone on for a while and he said, so what do you think? And I said, she's not the one. And he looked at me and said, what? I
I'm
said, yeah,
shocked that you said that.
wait, it's so good. Yeah, she's not the one. And he said, why? And I said, well, because you haven't chosen her. He goes, okay. He said, and if I choose her? And I went, congratulations. She's the one.
Wow.
He just started laughing. But
Oh
I said,
yeah.
it's the truth.
That was profound actually in its simplicity. Yeah.
It can be either.
Yeah.
And then there's a really important place. When you decide it is this, let's say she's the one, then it's important to keep choosing that. Because what we normally do is
Yes,
time
yes,
she says something mean, we say, oh
yes.
God, I shouldn't have chosen you. But that doesn't mean the other was better. Like what the best you can have is what you have right now, because that's what you have, and what you choose to do with it. But if I choose to love you forever, then I'm going to love you forever. I used to have a little bit of an irrational fear that my daughter wouldn't want me in her life. I know where it comes from. My mom killed herself, was disowned by my dad. My husband died. I've lived life on my
Sure.
own a lot. So I knew where it was coming from. But Sienna always said, like, Mom, stop. And so she said to me one day, she goes, I don't know how to do life without you.
Oh my God. I feel like that about my mother.
but wait. And I went,
Yeah.
oh, and she goes, my daughter adores me. She goes, no, mom, no, I haven't lived without you. So I simply just don't know how to do life without you. And I'm like, got it, got it.
Mm.
And she said, I don't know what to tell you to get over this. I took it to God and I said, like, God, help. Like, I know this is irrational. And then God said to me, how about you just be the very best mom you can be today? And then you do that every day. And I went back to her and I said, I'm going to be in your life always. She goes, yeah. She adores me. Yeah, mom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you know how I know that? She goes, no, how? I said, because I'm going to be the very best mom I can be for you today. She looked at me and she said, I'm so blessed
Yeah.
because I am so loved.
Yeah.
Like, she's never going to want me out of her life.
Right. Right. Right.
So guys, that's it. Decide and then decide with your heart and invest in it and care about it and nurture it and prune it because it needs some pruning and
Oh,
water it
oh
and
yeah.
let yourself be blessed by your partnership, be blessed by your life, be blessed by your career, be blessed by the opportunities that are here for you. Like it's so glorious if you decide it is. And it's not Pollyanna. You're still going to deal with cancer and COVID and people dying and, losing 5,000 of the stock market and someone crashing into your car and somebody disowning you. You're still going to have to deal with all of that. But if you really are loving yourself as you do it, it's going to be a little less hard of a journey.
A lot
We
less
all
hard of a
want to be
job.
loved. We all want to be loved.
It's
So
really,
let's speak with our heart and speak with our heart with our partner, the more beautiful it's going to be.
those are beautiful words. It's been a very inspirational podcast. Oh, I do need to apologize. I'm going to hear about Charlie's blanket in the background. Oh, Lisa's going to be, she always, right before I go on a podcast, she's always like, move Charlie's blanket.
Well,
So
maybe you just wanted a little bit more comfort and compassion in the room with you. Maybe Charlie wanted to be in the room with us. So,
he
Charlie, thank
is.
you for being here.
Yeah, he's right over there. I wanted to, oh, here's what I wanted to ask you. This is a big one. And I ask you as a psychotherapist and just as a person who seems to have some degree of mastery of love and happiness and joy. How important do you think religion is to achieving that? Okay, we know gratitude is extremely important. We've talked about that. I tend to think, and when you say religion, everybody then needs to define religion for themselves. So you could do that if you want. But spirituality, however you want to say it, is it a guide towards gratitude? Um, which is,
Well, I think it's a fast forward to it if you choose to, because gratitude is a very important component of all religions. And it is talked about quite a bit. Not that we necessarily pick it up. Um, I've had I've had I've worked with a lot of atheists, and it's been a fascinating journey because what I'll say is, this is a spiritual walk. And they'll say, well, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in that. I'm like, well, you believe in that. So that is your spiritual walk. And
true.
so to me, I, we're spiritual beings. And whether you decide that you're going to follow a certain faith or not, that doesn't take away from the essence that you are here. And your life is up to you to decide what the purpose of that will be and what you believe. So to me, I will say that is what's important. And however you feel alignment with expressing that, I think it's important for you to find out what connects you the most with you. For some people, it's nature. For some people, it's
That's
music.
big.
For
Hmm.
some people, it's church. For some people, it's the Bible. So it's important for you to find out what helps you connect to where you feel the most true divine love and light, where your wish is for beauty and love for all, and where there is no desire to hurt or inflict upon anyone else, whatever you want to label that. To me, it's easier just to call it love, but I I I personally believe that any choice you make in how you choose to view the world is a spiritual choice. So I think it's all part of it.
That's a good answer. Merle and
And
I
I
have,
could be completely wrong. So if your viewers think
I
I am,
don't.
please like let me know because I am open to everything. I'm such a curious person and I'm growing all the time
I
in what I know.
You're a perfect guest for this show because you just pretty much explained the premise of the show right there. And Merle and I talk a lot about like, I think I'd be labeled somewhat agnostic. I think.
Mhm.
Uh, but I believe in an afterlife. I believe in something, whatever it is, larger than me that you can call God. That works perfectly fine.
You
Uh,
wouldn't be doing this podcast if you didn't.
I think that's a
No
really good.
reason to reach or touch other people if you didn't.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so one thing that we talk about a lot on here is if you don't, you're talking about atheists and you're a spiritual being, whether you want to see it that way or not. We say on here, if you don't have that spiritual grounding, then you have a void that needs filled with something, and you're going to find something that may be a little more nefarious than it should be. And so I think it's Sam Harris. You know, Sam Harris is okay.
Mhm.
He's a rather famous atheist philosopher. I think he's a neurologist as well. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm positive he is. I just sometimes mix up neurology with neuroscientists and neurosurgeons, but he's an expert in the mind. But he is a famous atheist, but he does have a strict moral code. And I think that it's grounded in, he would say, I've heard him say, absolute truth. He will not lie. Somebody asks him, "What did you think of my book?" Well, you may not want to hear it, from Sam. He's going to tell you honestly. My only point to this is that I think that if you don't have a spiritual grounding, you better find some kind of definition, or it's going to get filled with other things. And I think that that's happening a lot in this country as of the last few decades. I,
Well, I
I
think we all have the desire to connect with something.
Mhm.
And so whether that be spirituality, whether that be nature, whether that be another human being, whether that be drugs, whether that be sex, we all look for ways to join. We all look for ways to experience. And I think it's wise as you go through life to evaluate what you're choosing as your vehicle for that and how sustaining it is, how helpful it is. I mean, I think most of us have had some behavior that we've engaged in that hasn't been the best for us eventually.
Sure.
For me, it's probably food, eating too much or eating sugar, not getting enough exercise. Some people it's alcohol, some people it's drugs, some people it's sex, some people it's shopping. Um, you can use religion in a way that isn't healthy. So I
True.
think it can be anything that you're putting value upon and you're finding purpose and influence upon. And you want to look at that. Social media
Oh
can be,
God.
you got to be looking at like, well, what is this cultivating in me? What is
Yeah.
this? Who am I becoming because of this experience? And is this growing me in a way that is helping me improve and get healthier and more wonderful and more in love with myself? Or is it not? And then that will guide you a little bit upon, is this something that honors who you truly are and who you can be? That's up to you to decide.
Well said. What are your thoughts on social media in today's society? Do you think, here's what I'm wondering, in my hopeful days, on a good day, I will say about social media, I think perhaps we're coming out of the adolescence stage of it. Because when I saw it, about 2012 or so, everybody, boom, is on Facebook and saying horrible things to each other. I mean, people my age, I've seen them turn into horrible children and ill-behaved children on social media. And I stayed away from it since then. I have things I've been embarrassed about that I've said and put out there. But I'm thinking that maybe most of us have learned that lesson and have maybe curbed our behavior. That's on my best day. On my more negative days, I think it's the complete and total destruction of society as we know it. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I think it's up to each person to choose for themselves what it will be. Social media can be an incredible connector for me. It's how I met you. It can be a
Sure.
beautiful, vehicle, like people watching this podcast, and it can be destructive. It can be harmful and hurtful. It can be a waste of time. So I think everything depends upon your response to what it is. I can choose something to, you know, good and bad, black and white. It depends how I use it. So for me, when I feel like, Heather, like you're wasting a lot of time right now on TikTok, then it's like, it's time for me to get off. But
Mhm.
there's also relationships that I've created on TikTok that are beautiful.
Oh,
And I've had people reach out to me in coaching from TikTok. It's beautiful. So it really depends upon how you utilize this forum in a way, and how you protect yourself in that as much as you can. If for someone it's a waste of time, it's hurtful, it's damaging, it's causing them to want to stray from their relationship or judge themselves and compare themselves, I'd say get off. I know when COVID hit, after a period of time, I stopped watching the news for a little while.
oh God, yeah.
It was not serving me. It was
Mhm.
not helping me. I was not going to a healthy place. I'm not on a news ban all the time. I check in, I look and I read and I listen. But when something starts to become for me problematic, I try very quickly to look at it and say, like, this is out of balance now. This is no longer benefiting you.
Mm.
And it can be anything. It could be something that sounds lovely, like massage. But if I'm going to a massage every single day, I'm going to be in trouble financially. So then it's no longer serving me. Now it's starting to hurt me. So there's that place of our own self-responsibility of, how do I utilize this life? How do I utilize this vehicle of social media to benefit me, to bless me? And where it doesn't, am I adult enough to do what I need to do to change that?
You give great answers. That's why I like asking you
Thank you.
questions. Like you really
Thank you.
got good answers. So here's one for you.
And then I got
Continuing
to
on.
wrap up after
Oh,
this one.
oh, you know what? Yes, me too. This has been going on for quite some time. If you were to be raising kids fresh again right now today, how would you handle the phone/social media thing?
Mm. Well, because mine are so much older, I don't really know what's going on with the itty bitties in the school system. So I
Right.
would
I don't either.
want to be involved with that. But my guess is, if I was homeschooling, I'd probably do it the way that I did it, that they didn't need to have a phone until they were going to be away from us where they needed to reach us. So my kids didn't have a phone until like 13, 12, I think 12, because they were starting to be in sports and things like that. The social media that they were a part of was more a family social media that
Mm,
we did, and we brought them into that. Um, but because mine are, a good 12 years older than that now,
yeah,
I'd have to spend some time, because I know nowadays kids have phones when they're like 5 and 6.
I know. I don't. I
I would,
wouldn't know how to answer.
I personally wouldn't want that. I know for me that it's very important for me to not be on my phone all the time and to put it
Right,
down and to stay away,
right.
so that I actually engage with the world and spend time in nature. It's just easy to get sucked in. And I do think I know when I got my son his first computer at 12, and he started to come to me with all of these articles, and he'd say, Mom, you need to know this about Russia, and you need to know about that. And I'd say, cite your source.
Yes, yes,
And it opened up an awareness to him that he was reading all this stuff, but who had written it?
right.
And that showed me I probably need to be monitoring this a little bit,
Mm,
because this is stuff that's going in that he is now saying is truth.
right.
And this was going to mold him and shape him. And I don't know what he was putting in. And so there's the place as a parent to be aware of that, be aware of what your children are reading and what they're watching and who their friends are and what they're involved in, not in the sense of like, I have to be supervising you to control it all, but to know, like, why are you being drawn to this? Or,
Help them navigate. Yeah.
right, like, why is this so important? A lot of kids go along with what the everyone else in their classroom is doing because they feel pressured to do it, not necessarily that it's right for them. A lot of girls that are sending out sexy photos are doing it because they think that's going to get them attention.
Mhm.
And it does,
Mhm.
but is that really who they are? Most times, no.
It's good, and that
It's
creates a
a
lot of
no.
anxiety. Yeah.
So I would talk before I would decide at what age, I would really make it based upon your child, their situation, and what's going on in their life, and how well they are at taking in outside information
Mm.
and siphoning through it for what's healthy for them. It's a
You
tall
know,
order.
that's very true. And I think you made a very good point. And I've said it before on the podcast a long time ago that something like Twitter, people are talk about forming news, people quoting their other teammates as their sources and spin up these news stories that are
Yeah.
then ingested as truth because that's enough about that. We should wrap up the show. Actually, got to let you go, and I want to really try to get this out this afternoon. So I got to get going. But I want to make sure that we mention that your book, Speaking with the Heart, is going to be out in a couple days, right?
No, it's gonna be out next week. So
Oh,
with when Amazon puts a book up, there's a little 48-hour. So Tuesday through Thursday of next week, it'll be out. But if you know you're eager and you want it, please reach out to me. I'll hold on to your phone number, your email. You can sign up for my newsletter, and I will be putting the link out as soon as I have it. It'll be on my website as soon as I have it as well. Any questions?
drheatherbrown.com,
Right.
E at the end of Brown.
Yeah, it's
And, and
www.drheatherbrown.com.
and I'll put that in the show notes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the best way to reach out to you is to go to your website, right? Everything's there.
It's the hub of Heather. Yeah.
The hub of Heather. I love that. And
Yep.
sign up for the email. She's got a really good email list.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, I really like it. Love talking with you, Heather. I could talk to you all day, and let's do it again. All right.
I'd love to. Thank you so much.
I hope you have a great weekend.
You as well. Bless
All right.
you. Bye.